Planet Paradigm Film Review Show. I know the name of my show. I know the name of my show here. Paradigm Film Review Show. That's how long it has been when you literally start the show and you can't what's our show called again, guys?
Yeah.
Anyway, Ross Wick, Van Hardcore, John Wick 4, John Wick Chapter 4. Again, as I was just telling guys off air, I don't have a ton on this movie, guys, because it is Chapter 4. So if you know what franchise you're showing up to, you should kind of know what to expect at this point. But I think there's a lot of good stuff, a lot of definitely nuanced stuff that I do want to cover about this. And that's mostly because if you guys remember, check out our John Wick Chapter 3 review here. Click over here. You remember that I was kind of getting off the John Wick train because it was by the trilogy, it was just a lot of John Wick. I'm a John Wick 1 fanboy. I'm a John Wick 2 fanboy. I thought they're awesome, but by the time the third one came out, I was just like, okay, that was kind of like an average Wick. The problem is when 1 or 2 are so good and you make the third one and you can't outdo anything that was done in 1 or 2, you're going against yourself at that point. The franchise was going against itself. That being said, I can see why this had a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, and we don't even cover Rotten Tomatoes scores here. But friggin', this was awesome. Like they fixed everything. They fixed everything that was wrong with 3. They basically fixed every single thing that was wrong with 3. Right off the rip, R.I.P. to Lance Reddick. That's his last film because he passed away before the dropping of it. So definitely R.I.P. to him. That is the Continental Concierge, as you guys know him from all 4 movies. So he was epic. That really sucked. But keeping that up. And of course, R.I.P. Tom Sizemore, because that's what we do here at PRS, Paradigm Review Show. I don't know. You want to pop us off guys, with anything that you have? How the film starts out or whatever.
Yeah, I was like you, man. As you know, equally such a big fan of the first 2 movies. In fact, it's all we pretty much talked about for a long period. And then I remember when we saw the third one, we were very dubious how it was going to be going forward, especially concerning the ending. And I was myself. Thankfully, this is what I needed after sitting through Cocaine Bear. No offense to Cocaine Bear fans, but something much more up my alley. And I'm thankfully, I'm going to be straight up here, man. I thought I'd be, texting you or Max saying, man, it's gone on too long now, man. This was whack. Thankfully, I was pleasantly surprised. The first 20 to 30 minutes, I was a little kind of on the ropes, thinking, not sure here. And then, boy, I was just sat like that. It was just, when I say this is amped up to another level, folks, seriously, it is just when, as we'll get into near the final act, when you think it's slowing down and it amps up again. Yes, there's been a lot of criticisms of some people say there's too much action. If you're like me, I loved it. It's straight.
I've seen that. Yeah.
I couldn't get enough of it. I just thought, this is awesome. The only negative, I guess I'd say going into this, if you haven't seen the first 3 movies, it could be quite a lot to process or overblown for you. You do need to have seen the first 3 movies, I think, to get a sense of the story. But Lance Reddick, as you said, shout out to him. That was so sad. I've seen him in many things, and he has such a good, clear speaking voice. Ian McShane was firing this as well.
Lawrence Fishburne is back.
Yeah. And the dude, for the keen-eyed, when it's set in the scene in Osaka, in Japan, during the first act of the movie, the guy who is, I forget the name, he's the father of the girl John Wick is helping.
Yeah, just real quick, going back to what Gaz was saying, pretty much the whole plot line relates on the characters' relationships from John Wick to the King, to like Ian McShane's character, as Gaz was saying, to the other character that Gaz was talking about, which is Hiroyuki. No, the actor is Hiroyuki Sanada. The character is Shimazu.
Yeah, he is a good actor. For the keen
He's awesome.
I've seen him in various martial arts movies, and he was also in The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise back in the day. So I thought it set the scene well, man. You were kind of sat there, as I said, a little nervous, wondering what to expect. And then when it started in Osaka, I actually forgot about the ending of the third one because I was that engrossed in the action. It made me forget how he walked away from falling off that, being shot and falling off that huge building. It made me forget it. There is so much I was happy about with this movie. I'm going to let you get a word in edgeways here, or I'm just going to fanboy out completely. So, is there anything you want to pick up on there, man?
I want to talk real quick about the Japan backdrop that you spoke on, and I just want to simply say that this is the most Kurosawa film, despite the fact that it's John Wick and it's guns. But I do want to say they do mix it up with bow and arrow and multiple other, medieval, ancient martial arts weapons, other than just the usual John Wick gunplay that you used to be seeing. But the combination of the Hong Kong style action from John Wick 1 with actually going out there to the Far East in the sequence Gaz was talking about to this was more Kurosawa. This film is more Kurosawa than Kill Bill, which is actually like based on the whole Kurosawa universe, right? And the reason of that is not because it's just John Wick and they go and film a scene in Japan, like Gaz was saying, but the coloring, it's the best coloring I've ever seen in any John Wick movie. Just that whatever the neon, I think it was like a pink. You know that hue that I'm talking about, Gaz. Like the whole part you were talking about, which was all pink and black, kind of like neon red and black. That was ridiculously good film coloring. The editing and just the Kurosawa essence of that whole Japan sequence was like literally genius. I mean, it's so much, like I said, so different than John Wick 3 and such an upgrade. Literally everything, single thing that could be upgraded from the action sequences, from the editing. And real quick, before Gaz comes back in, just the music, how the music syncs with the actual scenes and the storytelling through the music. Again, I would consider that a very Kurosawa element. I think it has the best music in any John Wick movie.
Yeah, that's something I definitely wanted to get into, the score, how it was used for each scene. But firstly, just to respond on what you were saying on the scene in Osaka, definitely with the whole coloring, it reminded me of like in various samurai movies, as you were saying, showing the blossom trees, changing in seasons, etc., etc. I remember doing that, I think it was in the Three Kingdoms with Jet Li way back in the day, how they showed you the contrast in seasons, which I thought was pretty cool.
It's like the cherry blossom trees, color palette.
Yeah, exactly. So it was definitely, but also it wasn't just a nod to Kurosawa there, also a nod to Equilibrium, which has always been hailed as one of the first movies where it was showing you, like, I guess, gun fu, the way they're fighting with pistols.
Yeah, I love Equilibrium. It's amazing. We should do that on the channel with Mac.
I think folks will do that again because it's a movie we've often talked about for years. And okay, John Wick is a definite nod to those movies, but it's like they take that, and as Ross was saying, everything is just leveled up. It's just completely upgraded. The gun fu sections where they're fighting with the guns, like dodging over the shoulders, like slipping here and there, and then absolutely fantastic. And what I'm very proud of in this movie as well, before we get into talking about the score, and we see him pretty much in the early onset of the film when it is in Osaka, and that is Donnie Yen. His character was fantastic, and I was so happy that it was good to see him get a push. I've watched his movies for years, always fanboyed Ross and Mac. I've got pretty much nearly all of them on DVD, barring a few.
Yeah. He's a Boston guy, by the way. When he moved from China, he came to Boston, Chinatown.
Been such a fan of him, and I used to always talk about Flashpoint, one of the classic Donnie Yen movies, and man, I feel he got the justice he didn't get in Rogue One, even though he was good in Rogue One. You saw what he could do. You also saw his acting as well. He is a good actor, not just good action star. And his character, I thought, was fantastic, flowed perfectly, and it showed his struggle with his honor, that he was doing his mission to protect his daughter. He didn't really want to kill John Wick. And he didn't like the people he was working for. He thought they were dishonorable. And his scenes were fantastic. I mean, right at the beginning, where there's a scene, folks, spoiler alert here, where they're getting chased through, it's I think it's like a restaurant or something, and he goes in this kitchen area and he's putting these electronic devices on like these alarms that set off any
Okay, that's a little bit too detailed, I guess. But like what I don't want to give really like any spoilers if possible. But if we do come to one, we'll just tell you guys to fast forward if you don't want to hear it. So right before that scene, there's this massive shootout going on in this small kitchen, as Gaz was saying, and pretty much literally right before what Gaz was referring to. And Donnie Yen, so I don't think this is much of a spoiler. Donnie Yen plays a blind assassin, a blind swordsman, much like his Rogue One character. And again, he's been all over the late night interview scene, and it's been a couple weeks out. So I think most people know that Donnie Yen plays Kane, the blind assassin in this movie by this point, even if you haven't seen the movie. And he's sitting there eating like soup with chopsticks of a giant shootout, and he's just in the corner in the shadows, just eating and drinking. And like Marco, who that guy's also a martial artist from a lot of other movies. I think he's like the head of security in Machete too and stuff. He's like, oh man, he's like, get in there. What are you doing? He's like, hey, go get your money that we paid you for. He's like, go do your job. That was awesome. Anyway, spoiler alert. If you don't want to hear that line, skip ahead. But you know, even all the actors that they added additionally, the new additions were awesome. You know, like I said, like even though they added those guys from the Raid Redemption into John Wick 3, I just, even with them in it, I felt like it just wasn't enough. But obviously, I'd say there is that similar fight to when Wick fought those Raid Redemption guys in that glass museum. I thought that fight was quite similar to the fight in this one when he fought the high table, security soldiers. You know what I mean? But man, obviously Clancy Brown is in this one. I don't know if you caught him, Gaz, with the beard. He was awesome.
Man, I did.
He's sick. Marco Zoror is the guy I was just talking about. Obviously, Bill Skarsgård is the Frenchman. I thought he was a sick villain. He was like the high table character. So, like Gaz was saying, obviously the Tracker was the other new assassin. Was the Tracker? He was dope. So yeah, man, like it was friggin' awesome. I don't want to blow too many of the action sequences for you guys, but if you haven't seen it all, I will say that. Well, you didn't really blow an action sequence. That was like 10 seconds of a massive shootout. So like, what was I gonna say? It is very long, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's an almost 3-hour movie. So you know, that being said, like I did have some fatigue trying to follow every little movement of the action sequences. And after 3 hours straight, like I'm gonna have to watch it back because I was missing stuff myself. Like I was just like my eye couldn't even follow it because it was so fast. I mean, it is a 3-hour movie. They probably could have cut it down a little bit shorter. That being said, there are I felt like some long drawn out scenes in between, action sequences aside, just the regular dialogue scenes, of which Wick does not have. I think he has 300 something words or less than 400 words in the movies. They chopped all of John Wick's dialogue before they released it to make it like an old, like a Kurosawa samurai with limited dialogue. But other than that, I think that's really my only criticism, is just that it's such a long movie, and then it just have those long sequences. I don't think this is, but we'll go into a couple things. I don't think this is too bad of a spoiler. Most people know about this, and we're just going to say, like, when he gets the nunchucks, like, he just goes absolutely ham. Like, there's just so many, even those kind of glass, I don't know what you would call those things, like almost like a stained glass window, but it's like an electronic glass pictorial that they were fighting through. Those are, I mean, he kind of encounters Kane at the end there, but that whole, he's in a 20-minute fight before Kane even shows up. So
do you think, with that said, then, and I'm going to say this, do you think that was a nod to the nunchuck scene from Enter the Dragon?
It had to be. I mean, I don't see how it could. I mean, it seemed like it was. It seemed like it was, but one could never know, you know what I mean? Because both scenes are epic. I mean, they evolved it a lot in Wicks, because they obviously had the ARs and all that shit. It's kind of spoiler if you don't want to hear this. Fast forward. Those high table guards masks, they looked like the Immortals from 300. Like they looked pretty sick, you know what I mean? And he absolutely smoked with the nunchucks. I mean, you guys already know. Like I mean, do you have like a top 3 fights or anything like that? I mean, I would say that sequence was probably one of the most impressive in the movie. The encounters with Kane. Spoiler alert, folks! Near the end, up the stairway,
That was absolutely fantastic, which then even gets trumped by I'll say is a Fast and the Furious scene, believe it or not, but it kind of worked because it's John Wick. It kind of was like James Bond and a Fast and the Furious combined. And you sat there and, you know, this is completely ridiculous and hilarious, but it is so badass and works because it is John Wick. And it's just the way he does it.
Yeah, that's the thing. The John Wick universe is already so far over the top. You could get away with a scene like that. The way that Chad Stahelski directs, you could get away with that in a John Wick universe, and we're like, okay, fine, it's just another John Wick action fight, right? But in Fast and the Furious, it's supposed to be grounded in reality. So like when they do that stupid crap, like fly into space and whatnot, you're like, every time you guys suspend reality with one of these stupid scenes in your so-called realistic movie, it doesn't work. But in John Wick, your brain is already suspended from reality, as it were, because it's John Wick. So that's really good. So what Gaz is referring to is there's been a lot of coverage on this is the Arc de Triomphe, l'Arc de Triomphe. They're basically, just imagine, you know, if you've ever seen a map or you've ever seen footage of the cars driving around that is so ridiculous. Like at that point, like the cars hitting people and just like a shootout at the Arc of the Triomphe. It's so over the top good.
Yeah. And all I've got to say, folks, is
it worked.
Just look out. Just look out for John Wick's driving skills in that scene. That's all I'm going to say.
Dude, the driving scene. Do you think that was the best driving scene in the franchise so far?
It was, because oh god, for the keen movie fans, you will get this. I can kind of give it away without doing a spoiler here. It kind of reminded me to Arnie in Raw Deal when he's driving around the construction site. Stones, I kind of casually. If you've seen Raw Deal, if you haven't, go. Seriously, it's another good movie. Definitely go see it. It did remind me of that. But you see, what I liked about John Wick 4, it felt more together. So much hard work has gone into this for the action scenes. The choreography was amazing. The stunts, everything just felt a lot more together than 3. Not that I didn't enjoy anything with 3, but I was getting like we all were dubious. Thought, I think it's getting a bit too much now.
Exactly.
Before we get into the score, like talking about how the score was used, I want to stress the camera and the camera editing. The angles throughout the movie were excellent. There's one particular scene. It's about halfway through. I'll try not to give spoilers away again, but just the way the sequence is used with John Wick, I think he's using an automatic assault rifle at the time.
I was going to get to that one, yeah.
And the camera, you get a good kind of pan around view, and it's showing you. It's almost like a video game where it's going from room to room. So, you're watching like SWAT team.
It's a top-down view. They're calling that they're calling that the Hotline Miami sequence, like that game Hotline Miami. So freaking dude, that I was going to say that probably would have to be top 1 or 2 sequences in the movie, and the only he was using an automatic shotgun, like Gaz said. This is a spoiler. If you don't want to hear this, just fast forward into the review. But if you care, if you've already seen the scene, you know what I'm talking about. He's using incendiary rounds with the automatic shotgun, which are flame rounds. So when they hit the guys, it's basically like a napalm round, which looks ridiculous on camera, by the way, because it's John Wick. The only other thing I would throw in is the stair fight that Gaz alluded to, which is essentially the last fight in the movie. Semi spoiler. Won't tell you everything what happens, but I think what they were going for, I guess that's like some famous steps in Paris, France, or something like that. So kind of like everybody knows about it, some ancient steps. And I think it's like, if I'm not mistaken, it's like 272 steps. And what they were going for was the longest stair fall in an action movie or Hollywood history or whatever. So I'll leave it up to you guys. I'll leave it up to you guys if they were able to pull it off or not. But like 3 major fights, a massive high table war at the Continental Osaka, Japan. Man, I don't know. I'm just trying to think if we missed everything. I mean, I think that's basically everything I have on the movie.
Well, there's another scene actually, and this is a perfect segue for how the music is used for each sequence set the tone. Another spoiler-ish. Again, fast forward, folks. Look, I'm a martial arts action fanboy, so I there's no wonder I'm so stoked, and I'm like,
I think I know where you're going with it.
Yeah. When John arrives in Berlin and sits at a table opposite Scott Adkins, who plays quite a big overweight guy, but still can definitely get down. The whole setup was kind of reminded me of scenes from various westerns and in the Kurosawa samurai movies as well, where you've got three guys opposite, another antagonist, I guess, and it's kind of all setting the tone and scene before it explodes. It's really balanced, well acted, but the music, and I'm not the biggest electronic music fan in the world either, but in this case,
same.
And I think it was the same song they used in the nightclub in John Wick 1 or 2, I believe. But it really flowed perfectly, and this is a ridiculous, over-the-top scene in a good way. It's another standout for the movie. John Wick versus Scott Adkins is absolutely fire, and it's quite funny as well as it happens when there's people kind of dancing away to this dubstep song, and all this craziness is happening, and I mean craziness. And there's a hilarious moment as well when John is chasing Scott. And that's all I'm going to say, folks. Just watch for it. Blink and you'll miss it, but it is so funny.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And also when we were talking about that scene with the Arc de Triomphe, probably butchered that, even though I'm learning French as well. But yeah, whatever.
Oui.
Oui. Parlez-vous anglais?
Let me come in on Atkins. So shout out to Scott Adkins. You guys obviously see when we did Action Man 2 here, we're Atkins fanboys here. But Scott Adkins plays Killa. As Gaz said, he's wearing a massive fat suit. When they were playing poker there, spoiler alert, I guess that should be the least of your worry in a John Wick movie. I also got vibes of Casino Royale. How Bond was playing cards, and then obviously Austin Powers spoofed that scene. So as Gaz said, you can kind of see all the European action influences, whether it be Kurosawa or 007 Bond, Connery, or what have you, Ian Fleming. But as Gaz said, I'm going to do a little bit of spoilers on this fight just for our boy Atkins. My final point on this was the same thing I said about Accident Man 2, which is they released a lot of clips and scenes and fight spoilers and stuff like that with this movie. And again, it did kind of give away, it got to the point where I wanted to see Atkins, but I was staying off his YouTube channel because he was uploading all these little fight clips and these little interviews, and I didn't want to see too many spoilers of the movie because I was like, I already wasn't really feeling John Wick 3. It was definitely an average Wick in my opinion. So I was like, I don't want to see too much of Wick 4 and have it skew my opinion before I even get into the theater to judge for myself. You know what I'm saying? So those are my only criticisms, is that it was really long and they released a lot of promo footage. Now, that being said, the promo footage worked because John Wick destroyed Ant-Man and the Wasp, and a lot of people are declaring declaring the end of Marvel and Disney because John Wick did so well. And it's is this? I assume this one's R, right? Obviously,
yeah.
So there's no way it could have been. But anyway, yeah. So just as far as it did was just that they released so much promo footage and that it's a really long movie. But that being said, in this case, releasing the promo footage obviously worked because it was a massive success and it did so well. They are talking about a John Wick 5. But okay, so John Wick 4 is at $73.8 million at the box office. Nice. It's ahead of Scream. It's ahead of Creed 3. It's ahead of 65. It's ahead of Ant-Man and the Wasp, which I think all came out before it. But just going into Atkins, as Gaz said, so they're all kind of dancing, and it's similar to that also that rave sequence in Chapter 2 in Rome where they kind of have the big shootout, but this one it's more hand to hand. Guys was saying, so people are dancing and these dudes are fighting right on the dance floor, so people are dancing and then they're stopping and watching them in the fight, and the dudes are beating the bag out of each other. And I semi spoiler, I guess, they do fall into the waterfall. And there's that sick, the way Gaz was saying, the filming and the angles of the shooting of the waterfall sequence of Scott Adkins. Scott Adkins is wearing a fat suit. He's still throwing like high kicks and whatnot.
Exactly.
So,
that spinning hook kick he threw was amazing as well.
Amazing. So, it was cool to see Donnie Yen and Atkins on the on the interview circuit. They finally got their just due, which is sick. I think a couple of them did Access Hollywood. I think Atkins did Kimball, and he did Jimmy Fallon. So they're all, John Wick really put those guys on to pop them off on the late night circuit, which is cool. I mean, we always review Atkins films and Yen films here, so those are kind of our guys. But anything else, Jericho's?
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to talk more on the score and the camera in a moment. But I remember coming out of the theater, and I said to my friend Dean, who was with me at the time, I said, "What is awesome is we've seen Donnie and Scott get the push, if you like, in Hollywood now on how they've deserved to get that push for a long time."
Agreed.
In our opinion, and it was nice that you've got people that are trained legit martial artists, legit action stars as well, instead of taking, I mean, no offense here, instead of taking a famous Hollywood actor, whatever, training them for a couple of weeks and expecting that to be at the same standard of
the CGI stuntman. I mean, what they do in those situations is they either copy paste the actor's face on the stuntman.
True.
Deadpool's lucky because he wears a suit, so you can't tell when Ryan Reynolds isn't Ryan Reynolds. But every single other guy, they just throw in a stunt. They basically put in a Scott Adkins or a Jet Li, do the fights, and then But I agree. Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. And real quick on that point. True martial artists on one token, and let's be real, Donnie Yen and Scott Adkins are better actors, regular acting aside, than most actors in Hollywood, and that's their martial arts abilities aside. That's just acting ability.
It felt like what it felt like is somebody had taken all the action movies we love, we've always watched and covered, all the martial arts movies, and then owed into, as we said, like James Bond, various samurai movies, westerns as well.
Like the whole entire action genre, and made it all the influences in one.
Westerns, actions, samurai movies, everything is there.
I'm telling you, that's because of the director. That is, that's Chad Stahelski. I don't know, Stahelski. Hopefully, I'm not butchering his name too badly. That guy's the man. He's directed all 4 John Wicks and some other good stuff too.
And the way they use the cameras, we not just in the scene we were talking about earlier, but to capture all the sequences, I thought was fantastic. And another that huge driving scene and fight in the Arc de Triomphe, and they were using I'm going to butcher the pronunciation. I think it's Marie Colette. It's the cover of the Rolling Stones, painted black, but in French. It just went perfect. Seriously,
that was genius.
It was ridiculous.
That was genius. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff like that. I think there's some other covers too in Japan. There was like some songs that were like mainstream songs that were in a different language. But yeah, I don't know. That's unless Gaz has anything else, I say we go to our ratings. That's basically all I have on the movie. Definitely get down there. Before we do our ratings real quick, I want to shout out, I don't know if it'll be our next one. We should definitely do that Last Kingdom movie. I think that comes out next month. But I think it's end of this month. Sisu. I sent the trailer to Gaz.
Yes, definitely.
It was the trailer before John Wick 4. Yo, what up, Greg? Greg, I got a trailer for you. The movie's called Sisu, Sisu. It's as soon as it comes out, we're gonna have it up hopefully that weekend. It's the same studio as John Wick. That should tell you everything. It's kind of like a World War II John Wick. I don't want to say any more than that. Just we'll leak out the trailer. We'll tweet it out, but it looks amazing. It's on Instagram. Go screw with those guys. They're awesome.
Yeah, it looks fire.
You'd love it, Greg. Good.
What up, Greg? Good to see you, man. Also, folks, there is a post-credit scene at the end of John Wick 4.
I saw that.
Featuring, we mentioned the name earlier.
The Bowery King and Winston.
Yeah. So that hints at possible plot in John Wick 5 or possible spin-off. That we're talking about doing a spin-off series around the Continental a few years ago.
I don't know if that took off. I don't know if they canceled that, but there was supposed to be the ballerina, the female John Wick, who's like his female counterpart. That didn't pan out.
And I'll just say this, it's it doesn't really give too much spoilers away, but the exchange between Ian McShane and who's he talking to at the end?
The Bowery Gang.
Ian and Lawrence Fishburne. Yeah, right. That kind of says that there could be a number 5. It just kind of leaves it in the air as to the fate of John. That's all I'll say. And I did read something that Keanu Reeves said himself. Now I can't recall where it was. I think they were going to wait to see the success of number 4 if they do a 5th one. Well, the fact is that this has just blown pretty much everything else out of the water.
Massively
It's one of the best movies I've seen in such a long time. I'm so grateful that we've got a solid action movie on the big screen again, because
same here.
Apart from Sicario 2, which comes to mind, I really enjoyed that.
I love that movie.
Yeah, we've been a bit starved, actually. Not in the indie scene, but kind of on the big screen. We've been a little starved. So this is great stuff. Great to see. Hopefully we can get some directors again where they're given that freedom to do these amazing stunts, action sequences, etc. Not everything has to be cookie cutter movies with cheesy, fatful human CGI, and
they're all not doing well.
We're tired of all that whackness, man.
Tired of it.
And I'm saying that, as you can probably see, Iron Man and that in the background. But yeah, I'm kind of tired of seeing the stuff I like being butchered as well.
Same.
Yeah. So awesome stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I want to answer this for Greg, because other people might be wondering this too. If he could start with John Wick 4, should start with the first one. I mean, all the movies, 4 movies, it's a kind of like the Death Wish franchise, where every movie is exactly the same. Now I'm a fanboy of every single movie in the Death Wish franchise, so I will watch a series up to 5 and 6 if it's a vigilante revenge action movie. I'm that much of a fanboy. But here's the thing: if it gets too repetitive, I mean, you had Charlie Bronson's kind of bravado and presence carrying those movies. Not to say that Keanu can't do the same. It's just, we both experienced from burnout. Some chapter 3, we admitted that. Chapter 4 came back and fixed everything. Greg was talking about Donnie Yen and Scott Adkins. They're both epic in chapter 4. As we were saying earlier, Greg, the guys from the Raid Redemption are in chapter 3. So those guys are big on the kung fu martial arts action scene as well. But yeah, that's basically everything. I said let's go into our ratings, guys. So we forgot to do the bio. John Wick uncovers a path to defeating the High Table, but before he can earn his freedom, Wick must face off against a new enemy with powerful alliances across the globe and forces that turn old friends into foes. Pretty good assessment, I would say. So it has a 8.3. You guys can't really read that, can you? 8.3 on IMDb. I gave it an 8, but I could see it being anywhere between an 8 and 9. What about you guys?
Yeah, this is probably going to be no surprise with my taste, and people are going to think, my God, that miserable Limey's actually given something a high score for once. I give it a 9. Yeah, nice. I give it a 9. I thought it was
think that's the first time ever you've rated ahead of me, possibly.
There was once the Joker, and that was martial arts. I think that's the only time I've given something a 10 was the Joker. That
says a lot about Kaz. That's the darkest movie ever made.
It just doesn't.
Awesome. That movie could be a 10, though. That movie's awesome.
Yeah, Greg, just to get back, I just saw some of your comments there. The martial arts are fantastic. I was complaining earlier about how, they get some Hollywood actors, train them up for a couple of weeks. I know Ross is right saying use stunt doubles, but when they don't, and you can tell, it just looks like someone.
Yeah, I mean, you can't use a stunt. No, you can't use a stunt double for every scene, because if it's going to have the actor's face directly in the scene, it's going to have to be them doing it. So as Gad said, if it's completely missing, then it's just too damn obvious. But they're amazing. I mean, how did they take it up a notch from the earlier Wicks? Yeah, dude, the nunchuckers was ridiculous, bro. I don't even want to talk about the nunchuckers scene, Greg, because it's so good that you just have to see it for yourself. Words cannot even come close to explaining the sequence. But just those major those fights that we mentioned, and just the escalation, and how did they take it up a notch? Weapons, ARs, nunchucks. The stunts. They did escalate it in all elements, all aspects.
The score, as we were saying earlier as well, Greg. Think of all the classic samurai movies, Hong Kong action movies and martial arts movies mixed with James Bond, westerns as well.
Western influence.
Even I can't believe I'm going to say this. Even Fast and the Furious, but done in a good way, and amalgamated it all.
The
together.
one good element from it, and used properly.
We are family.
Family. My favorite meme was like that Darth Vader sliced his head off, and he's like, "What are you gonna do, Dom?" He's like, "I'm gonna protect my family." He has a shotgun, and Darth Vader just melts him in half with a lightsaber. Anyway, Fast X maybe. Anyway, what else do you guys want us to review? So we're gonna do Sisu. We're going to do the new Arnold movie. We might do the Last Kingdom movie. There's a few things on the horizon that
there's one. I'm gonna send it.
Maybe Fast X for a joke, for a roast.
Yeah, that would be funny. But there's a prequel. Greg, did you ever see the martial arts movie Fury on Netflix? They've recently released a prequel set in the 90s called Furies. I was talking about it to Ross the other day, and I said that's something we could possibly look at.
Shoot me a trailer.
Yeah, it was all right. Fury was all right. It wasn't bad. And there's another Korean action movie come out about a female assassin, and the plot sounds ridiculous. When at home she's a mum, but on a weekend she's like this deadly assassin. You know.
Oh god, it's like Mr. and Mrs. Smith too.
Yeah, literally. But also, I just want to get back to that scene in Osaka for a second. It reminded me as well of, Lucy Liu's moment in Kill Bill. Kind of, it was a bit of a nod to that as well, but actually so much better. And everything about this movie, it's just been okay. It's like we've looked at 3, okay, that's not been the best in the series, so what can we do to rectify this? Right, we'll absolutely just turn the volume up on every single aspect to this movie, from both choreography, the score, the action sequences, the camera work, the editing, absolutely everything.
The coloring, the color palette. This is probably the best coloring I've seen in a movie in probably like 5 years. Like, I don't even know. Also, just real quick, my final point, the way that his new collaborators worked with him inside of the fight scenes and the action sequences, like everybody collaborated together and flowed in all their movements, and nobody looked out of place. Like, even they're all using different weapons, like her with the bow and arrow, him with the pistol, the ARs, the tracker with, kind of using unorthodox weaponry, and you know what I mean, like the shotgun things, the long rifles, fast quick draw pistols, and then obviously he had the Doberman or whatever dog he was using, which has some funny ass scenes.
That guy was that guy was good as well.
He was a good addition, I thought. You know what I mean? And just even the villains were kind of all there. I like the plot. I like everything about it. I mean, I think it could have been shorter, but that's probably my final point on it. The action scene's amazing. Definitely there, action there, score there. Keanu is the man. I can see why the film did so well. I rate it highly. So definitely go check out John Wick 4. We'll post the trailers here. Let us know what you think in the comments. Sisu. We're probably definitely going to do Sisu. We're going to try to definitely do Sisu next at the end of this month. But if we come up with anything in between, we'll do some more stuff. If you got more stuff, let us know in the comments. Hit us on Twitter. The Planet X Filmwork Twitter is active. It is at Planet X Filmwork. Don't forget to pick up the comic book. We'll put the link in the description. The Dark Rift Volume 1, Escape from Earth. Cop that. Like, subscribe, share. Buy our comic book. We are out. Thanks for coming through, Greg. I'm going to check out that rough draft you sent me real soon. Zodiac Files Episode 4 coming soon. The Gavita Beach Murders. I got a meeting with the editor today. About to go over there. So like, sub, share. We'll have fun hardcore back here next time. And I'm Ross Wick. We're out. Check out John Wick 4. Greg, let us know. Check out the 3-1 before that too. We're out. Peace. Give us some more suggestions below in the comments. Subscribe to the channel.